Ciao Maciej, new day, new learning.
Cześć Enrico, new day, new learning. Nice to see you. What do you have
Nice,
for me?
nice to see you, my friend. So what I have for you today is something interesting. I want to get back into doing some coding. And in these days, I was exploring some solution to help me reduce the size of my interfaces because of an explosion of action within my web application. So I was trying to understand how to make this simpler, and I found out that the command pattern can be a good solution for this kind of situation. It has some important trade-off though, and so I'm really looking forward to hear your feedback on this and to have another opinion. I feel this is an improvement, but still, I need other people to look into it. So let's jump a little bit into the code. I'll share my screen with you and I'll show you a little bit where we are and what we have here. So
I'm already super curious, please.
oh, yes. So here, let's imagine we have our simple application, okay? We have a table, and this is really just a simplified example, okay? I know that most likely this example is narrow, so keep this in mind, but it's just to exemplify what is happening. So, and we have a kind of small menu, okay? We can clone and we can delete our data. Very simple. So at this stage, if we look into our code, so we have our small application, very straightforward. There is a repository I can share with you if you are interested. And as you see, we have, a table that provides a menu, option menu, where we have two functionality, two actions. We can clone and delete. Pretty straightforward. At this stage, you have your prop drilling down or drilling up, the two kind of callbacks when we click clone or when we click delete, and then we handle the state change inside our, let's say, main component, right? Okay. Now, what generally happens is that at a certain moment, this action become bigger, right? So your PM come and say, now we need to activate and we need to activate the user. And then we also need a way to send them a message to tell them they are amazing. So then, you start your implementation and suddenly your options menu will have more stuff, right? Now you can clone, delete, notify, activate, and deactivate. And this is going to be something like this, right? You have a menu, it's become bigger. Now you can notify the guy and maybe deactivate. And all this functionality have pretty much increased the size of your interface. And this is rippling up, right? So you have an interface that is sending data upwards up till to your main component, and that is going to have to handle all these kind of different action and modify the data accordingly.
Yeah.
So in this example, we have only 5, but imagine that now you grow to a point where you have 10, 15 different action that you can do on your user, and that menu becomes giant, or maybe you have even different component in your application that allow to do different operation on your user, and you end up with a place that is kind of overloaded with all this handling of the data that you need to change. So one solution that I experiment with is introducing the command pattern. So one cool solution that I was experimenting with is applying the command pattern to the user interface. So what we are doing is encapsulating our action into classes that represent this change. And how does this look? So the first thing is that we have a model that describes our commands. We have an enum. I like to use enum a lot for this, where I describe the different commands I have. And you can already see the first benefit of this strategy is that it's very easy to understand which command does your application support. In this case, clone, delete, notify, activate, and deactivate. And then we create interfaces for each of them so that it's easier to type. I mean, this is not forcefully necessary, but I like to do this so that I can properly type my application and make sure that I handle the cases properly, so that there are no unexpected cases that, for example, I'm not handling. So very straightforward. I just create a subclass as an interface that extends from my user action command, and I give it the specific type so that I'm sure that I'm not going to misuse the different commands. And then what I do is I have a method that creates the command of each type. So I can create this kind of command. I can provide a user ID, for example, so that I can handle this notification for the specific user ID. And then I have an execute function. And an execute function is the same for, like the interface is the same for every method. And then it allows to encapsulate the data change within the command. So now all the logic that is related to how we handle this specific command is encapsulated and isolated into this specific file. So that for me, it's much easier to understand how this specific change works rather than having to focus on all the different commands at any given time. And this is basically it. Now, every command have their set, their methods to create them. And then to make things simpler, I use a command factory. So the factory pattern, so it's a simple function that given a type, it returns me the proper command. Now, whenever I want to use a command, I will go into my table. And in the table, whenever I receive a callback from the option menu, I create a command. So I use the command factory to create a specific command, and I pass in the user in this case to make sure that I know to which user this command is related. And then I pass up the command. I pass the command up the chain. As you can see, we have the on command method. It's just one. If you remember before, we had 5 different callbacks that were trickling up, one for each type of command, and now, or for each type of action. And now we have just one that bubble up the single command, one single method that bubble up all the types of command that we want. And this is exactly where I was saying that I love having the typing. If I have different commands that handle different types of commands, so if I have one place where I have activate and deactivate, and another component is only using the clone and notify, so here I would say, this is only supporting the clone command and the delete command, right? And then I would be sure that I wouldn't pass up any other thing rather than what I can. And then if we go back into our main application, so if we go back here, now we can see that also the code of this kind of a main component has been reduced to only handling the command and executing the command. In this case, because I'm using React and this technique can be used with any framework, we need to pass in the data and the set data method. This is something that I don't really like, but it was not the part I wanted to focus on. So this is the command pattern applied to menu action. I think it's a great way to simplify your interfaces, make sure they don't explode. It's a great way to decouple the place where your commands are generated from the place that they are consumed, and is a great way of isolating the complexity of every command into their own space, let's say. I also very much like it because whenever you're going to have to add a new command, let's say we want to add the cheer command, we don't really have to change our existing code. We just need to create new code rather than modifying what is already there. And this corresponds to the open close principle, right? And it's something that as an engineer, we generally appreciate. So this is another benefit of using the command pattern for this specific thing. So I added my command, and then I'm probably going to take something like this as an example. And then let's say that we create the cheer command. And let's just say that in this case, the only thing that we are going to do is we are going to alert our user. User ID. Voila. here we have a parenthesis too much. That's good. And then we just need to change our factory, add another case. As you see, you know, the typing system is already telling me that there is something missing because we are not taking care of a case. Create cheer command. Voila. That should be good enough. It's still complaining. And now, yeah, I maybe should add an option as well on our menu, right? So we can come on the option menu. We are going to add a new item. And we say on cheer. Voila. And this is going to be here. And I guess this should be it, right? Let me see, let me try. So we cheer and something is broken. It's good. We like broken stuff. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to implement one more piece. Voila. And now the whole thing is going to work. Or not. Command.model.ts, it's complaining about something. This might definitely be a problem. So, okay, the issue was that Vit was not really happy with us. Okay, cool. So we got it. So as we say, we can make a tour again. So we want to introduce a new command. We start by modifying our types. So we add the cheer type on the enum. We add a new interface for the cheer command, and we make sure to add it to our user commands type. Then we create the method that will include the logic of our cheer action. So very simple in our case. And then we need to make the connection. So we start by the option menu. In the option menu, we add our cheer callback that is going to be invoked once we click on the menu item for cheering. And then we go up the chain because the option menu is agnostic from the command pattern. I think this is a good choice because this option menu doesn't really need to know about it, but it's for sure an option to also to bring it here. There are for sure some interesting pros and cons. And then from the option menu, we go back to the table. The table, it's the place where I decided to create my command. So I have a new line that invokes the command factory with the cheer type and passing in the row ID. And then we invoke our on command callback that is going to inform our application to handle this command. And something that I want to remind you is also that we need to extend the command factory to handle the new cheer case. And that's it. I hope this was a good journey and that you find the command pattern fascinating. There are some, as you can see, one big drawback is that it requires quite some boilerplate code. So the factoring, I mean, it's a very easy piece of code that creates the different command, but still is a new piece of code that you have to maintain. And also the model, you know, have a little bit of content in it. It's nothing complicated. I mean, once one understand the drill, it's very easy to maintain and extend this file. So I think that the complexity of these two are very low. And I think that the added benefit of extracting your logic into the specific commands really provide an opportunity to simplify the code that would otherwise clutter your main application and to isolate the logic in a way that you can focus and reason only on it.
Wow, Enrico, thanks for sharing this knowledge with me. I know that online coding is hard, so thanks twice. Yeah, what I like about this pattern is that definitely It's better than the starting code in a way that you explicitly see what's possible, what kind of comments you have, like what kind of interfaces are available. And I saw this pattern a couple times when I was working with some external libraries. So they deliver you this set of comments and you see, okay, so this is what I can do here. What I don't like is the way how we need to handle all of this. I'm not sure about like creating interfaces for each of for each comment. Maybe, I mean, probably there are pros and cons, but maybe it could be some kind of, I don't know, map type for this, something which could be just, you know, less overhead, let's say, for all of this code and just make it more automatic. At the same time, what I also saw in some external libraries was this pattern connected with some external event bus, which means that they deliver you their engine and some comments, and you can use these comments without even like handling them in a way. Just so even if you are pretty deep in your system, you can still like just execute a command, and you know it's immediately sent through some event bus to the main instance or whatever, and then handled. And this is also very common, very handy, because then you don't need to like, you know, handle this step by step, creating another factors. It's just some engine consuming all of these commands, and all you need to do is like, I don't know, it's like for me, the situation when you have a player or something and you just want to make a full screen and you don't want to just handle this automatically because this is something that your library should do for you. You only want to execute this command somewhere. And since like your main instance is maybe on root, and then you are more levels deeper, when you have some submenu, something like, you know, controls, then you can just execute this command and wow, boom, immediately you have a full screen. So stuff like this, I guess it's very, very useful. And but once again, the huge benefit is that someone who start working with this code explicitly see what is possible. And from your initial code, it was way harder to just, you know, find out what is there. And of course, this code shouted to be splitted somehow, and that was one of the way. And thank you for sharing this pattern and how you try to do this, like your experimentation. It's valuable. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Maciej, for your feedback. Yeah, I appreciate your reflection. It makes total sense to me. I also will share with you a few pages that I think are valuable and that are full of you know, the more technical details. And there are some additional pro and cons that I haven't mentioned because I feel like there is plenty of resources where we can check this out.
Yep.
So thank you, my friend. It was fun. It was hard, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Sometimes hard lessons are the best. Thank you.
Yes.
Cheers.
Ciao.